Hey Gabrielle, how you doing today?
Hey, I'm wonderful. I woke up about an hour ago, bright and early in Washington. How
Excellent,
are you?
excellent. I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I can't complain at all. Yeah, so
Good.
how's your day been so far? How's your morning been so far?
Well, you know what? Honestly, I'm in Washington now. I'm not in Arizona. I'm helping my son and his wife take care of their daughter, and I gotta tell you, even when she's not around, she's in my mind. So I've been very awake and very prepared to see her today. Lots of
Okay,
energy.
okay, yeah, fantastic, fantastic. Yeah, so let the viewers know who you are, what you do, and why you do it, Gabrielle.
Okay, my name is Gabrielle Cardona. I am a relationship coach. I have a radio show, but I also coach people one-on-one. I have classes and webinars and seminars where I give general information, but I also write books because you need specific details. I've been doing it for 20 years, and I know that as a life coach, I need a specialty. And what my life coaching clients wanted was relationship, conflict resolution, communication, really improving the quality of their relationships. That's what I picked as my specialty 5 years ago.
Excellent, excellent. So, what was your journey and what led you down that path of wanting to do life coaching and then focus on relationship coaching? Like, what was it that made you that moment that you thought this is actually what I want to do? What was that like?
Okay, well, first of all, because as a young girl, I was weird. I was just weird. And so my mom sent me to psychiatrists and therapists and psychologists, and yeah, they all told me and my mom that I'm weird and I'm sick and I'm mentally ill and I'm unfixable. And I thought, you know what, that's not true. I'm just special. Right? And I knew that in the United States the mental health industry is very much about labeling people and medicating them to just disguise all of the things going on and suffocate the symptoms. And so I saw as I was growing up and I got married and I had children, one of the things that worked really, really well was personality, understanding that people are different. We're all unique and we're all special. And what may be considered a sick or dysfunctional behavior, it might just be a quirk of a personality that needed to be a little bit modified. And so as I got married, I had children, I used personality profiling to make my relationships amazing. And I disagreed with the mental health industry and the pharmaceutical industry when I heard about 20 years ago that life coaching was becoming a career for people. I knew that's what I wanted. Coaching. It's about strategy and equipment to score in the game of life, not labeling people and making them feel bad about themselves. That's what I knew because it worked in a practical way in my life. I wanted other people to have that success and that good confidence.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, me personally, I think there are too many labels, and everybody is unique. If we give them a chance to, if we allow ourselves to get to know them from their perspective, we all have our individual perspectives in that sense, you know. Yeah, so like that's a great journey that you went on there. So when we look at like our previous relationships, you know, we've all had different struggles in previous relationships, and we've had to navigate through those to get to where we are now, right? So, what were some of your previous struggles in relationships, and how did you navigate through those to get to where you are now?
Okay, well, obviously, my very first one was my mother. She was very single mother, and so she only had a certain amount of time, and so our communication was never really good. I knew that I was going to have to spend a lot of time building my relationship skills, and so I did have good quality people in my life in my congregation. I kind of had surrogate mothers, I had elders that I would reach out to and say, you know, I don't know what to do here. My mom's nowhere around. Help me out. And then I knew that people actually like helping people and they like teaching people. And so if I needed advice, if I had a question about a specific issue that I was experiencing with my mother, there were insightful women that I would go to and say, okay, what's going on here? Or I just didn't like who I was. I would reach out to the men and say, help me be a better quality soul. When I had my husband and children in my life, I was only 18 when I got married. I was 19 when I had a mother. Look, my oldest son, he was the polar opposite of me. My middle son, he was everything that my husband described as a bad thing as a child, but I liked him. And I said, you know what? I've got books here, but I need to profile them. So I did. And then my daughter came along and I was like, yeah, this is fun. But I knew that as a wife, I needed to apply the things that I learned in a marital way. The same information, I could apply it in a maternal way, right, to my children. And as long as I continued to reach out to the people who had insight and experience, applying that to my own personal situation, that was very encouraging and helpful and successfully practical, right? In a good way, the communication with people, maximizing that resource.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely takes a village to raise a child. If you look at the saying, so like I feel like that's a very true statement as well, you know. And a lot of people they isolate themselves, like in the society that we're in, and they don't
Yes.
understand the necessity for community in that sense. So we're looking at your upbringing, like you really got that community, even though like your mother wasn't always available, you were still able
Exactly.
to get that community. But for people that don't necessarily get that community and they've like been in a relationship and maybe that relationship hasn't worked out, it's failed. So they kind of feel lost and alone because they haven't really had that community to support them. How can they start to, in your opinion, rebuild themselves and feel like they can reconnect with like the community or like with a partner in some kind of way when they feel like their relationship hasn't worked out for them going, and how do they navigate that going forward?
Okay, so now we're talking about different kinds of relationships, and that was kind of what I was alluding to. The way I relate to my husband is different than the way I relate to my boss at
Mm.
work. It's very different from the way that I relate to my children. But honestly, and this is really important, everybody knows it logistically, but in a practical way, you're only going to be able to give the quality to other people that you give to yourself first, right? So get to know yourself and what you genuinely need. When you say, like, for example, four different people could come to me with the exact same struggle in a relationship or with their health or with time management. And the first thing I teach them is, who are you as a distinct individual? Get to know not only what your needs are, that you can say to people, okay, these are my boundaries, right? This is the minimum of what I know for a fact that I'm going to need from you. Tell them up front. But also, what do you have to offer people? Most people, when they struggle in relationships, it's because they're confused or they're overwhelmed. When you take excellent care of yourself, you get to know yourself. What do you need? It's different for everybody. Then you feel healthy and you feel optimistic. It really is about your energy and your attitude when you're with people, and you can say to people, you know what, give me a minute. I really need to take care of myself. And when I do, I'm going to be exponentially better to you, with you, for you. That's what people need to do. Find out what you need. Look, when I found out that I'm an INTP, that is a very unattractive personality when it comes to relationships. I knew that I needed to run, I needed to stretch, and I needed to do Sudoku puzzles. When I told people in my life, yeah, you know what? I'm really in a bad mood right now. Give me 20 minutes to get into a good mood. They were grateful and they were much more willing to work with me and say, wow, okay, you're good now. Thank you so much for caring about me and tell me what I can do for you in the future. Or if we're talking about certain things, I knew what words bothered me or what communication styles bothered me. And I said to people, okay, hold on, hold on. I don't like what you're doing right now. And I need you to respect me and to appreciate me when you're saying and doing things. I promise you the ROI is going to be very, very good for you. It's going to be worth it. So you need to know yourself and you need to communicate with people and take good quality care of yourself. Let them be part of that process. It's not just one thing. It's very multifaceted. To get good quality relationships, you have to be good alone, and then you have to be good with the people in your life. Even if it's just a matter of, I'm really trying and I really want to be honest with you about what I need that I can give to you in the form of a high quality interaction.
Yeah, I mean, it's very true that you need to know yourself before you can give of yourself. But what about people that feel like they don't know what they can give of themselves? Like they kind of feel like they're an empty cup and they can't really give from an empty cup, so to speak, right? So, like, how do they fill that cup up? Like, how do they go through the process of knowing themselves in order to be able to give of themselves when they feel so empty?
Okay, so what I basically said then is give yourself what you need. If someone doesn't even know what they need, what I start with is a personality profile with them saying, look, there are 16 different, we'll call them body parts, okay, that make up the entire society, the whole of society. Get to know your profile and most importantly, your functional order, because everybody in life has to do everything. Know who you are functionally, what you do very, very, very well. What you do, okay, and what you really don't do well, and you struggle and you suffer when you do. That way, you get to know all of the things that you can do for yourself to help edify, strengthen, upbuild the things that you have a hard time with, but also that you can maximize. Now, look, we have mental energy, we have emotional energy, and we have physical energy. When we have good, positive mental energy, we can invest in our emotional strength, okay, and endurance. That's going to be the basis for the relationships that we create. And that will give us the physical energy to interact with people. Look, especially with technology, we don't want to get together with people. We want to isolate ourselves because it's much easier. What I've noticed, especially training in the homeless shelter in Phoenix, people want to use animals as a substitute for human relationships. You have to get together with people, but you have to know what's your dominant, what's your auxiliary, what's your tertiary, and what's your inferior function. And I teach people, look, everybody does everything. You can do things in a healthy way or you can do them in an unhealthy way. That means you have to know, first of all, what you need to do to take care of yourself, which is what I mentioned in the beginning, but also what you shouldn't ask yourself to do past a certain point. Your dominant functions like breathing, your auxiliary functions like eating, your tertiary functions like walking, and your inferior function, it's like running. You should not run more than 2 hours a day. Don't do something that is horrifyingly difficult for you more than 2 hours a day. You can get very high quality in your performance of that activity, but don't exhaust yourself because as you're doing something that's very difficult for you, you're also not doing what's easy for you and what you're very, very good at. You have to make sure you keep the proportions of doing what you are good at and what you're healthy at when you do it naturally, making that the foundation of what your lifestyle, your daily lifestyle is about. And when other people are in your life coming to you saying, wow, who you are makes my life better. That's when you're doing your dominant function and say to people, this is one of the best things that I have to offer. And when you need me to do this or be this, it's going to be tough for me and I can only do it for a little bit. Most people actually love it when you say to them, I'm going to have a hard time with this, so heads up. The first thing they say, when you're honest in a respectful and a considerate way, they say, okay, I won't ever ask you to do it. Thank you for giving me the heads up. Or they could say, you know what? It's kind of an inevitable element of what we're going to be doing together. I can teach you how to do it better, or I can give you breaks. In between, we can negotiate. And when you know yourself well enough to say, okay, you know what? I've had a limit. This is it. I need to take a step back. I need a timeout. People will say, okay, go ahead, do whatever you need to do. Because I know that when you come back, the quality of your performance will be exponentially better than what it is right now. And it's worth it. It is definitely worth letting you be who you are because that's going to create good synergy between us in our relationship.
Yeah, yeah, that's very, very true. Yeah, indeed. Like some people will hear that and they'll feel like, okay, what is it that I'm good at? And they tend to focus more on their professional life because they find out that's what they tend to be good at. So they immerse themselves in that and they even get successful at that, but to the detriment of their personal life because they focus so heavily on their professional life, their personal life starts to suffer. So how can they start to bridge that gap? Because they were thinking about what they were good at, they dived into their professional life, but now their personal life and their intimate life is suffering. So how, in your opinion, can they start to bridge that gap once they're in that position?
Okay, so when it comes to the activities that they would be doing in their relationships, first, the very first client that I had was actually the district attorney of a very large city. And he said, if you can tell me why I come from a Mormon family, so I was treated like a god, parents were fabulous to me. I'm good looking, I'm powerful, I'm rich, why I'm not happy. I said to him, because what you're doing is the reverse of your personality. Your work should not be work. Your job, your career should not be work. So if what you're doing first of all in your work is exhausting you and it's draining your strength and your energy to be with people when you're done, you need to get a new job. And I have also told people that in the beginning of your career, what would you do that even if you never got paid, you would still love to do it? That needs to be the modus operandi of everything you do in life: work, relationships, health, money, what you do with your mental focus, what you do with your emotional strength, what you do with your physical endurance to get people into your life. You're going to attract good quality people in your life if, while you're doing things in a daily way, you're getting yourself recharged and positive with your mood, just getting in a good mood. If you're in a bad mood, people aren't going to want to be with you. But when you're with your relationships, there's different kinds. There's romantic, there's familiar, there's social. You have to know what your, again, dynamic with different people is going to be with you having the variety of personalities in your social relationships, or like you were talking about in a romantic relationship. I've always told people, look, I have 3 children and I have a husband. I am a wife first and then a mother. I've walked away from jobs, from very lucrative jobs, because I told my husband, this job is taking away my focus from what's most important. And there were times when I told my children, I need to go take care of daddy first, or daddy needs to take care of me. We need to get together, because the synergy, again, the power that we create when we come together, we are exponentially better for you. And there were times when my kids even said to me, you know, we'll sit over here, take care of daddy. We don't like who he is right now. Take care of daddy. But that meant that my husband and I needed to talk about what we each needed and ask for what we needed. You have to communicate. You have to know yourself and be willing to be honest about what you need. That's really going to be the most important thing in the decisions that you make. You're going to be proactive and positive when you make those choices.
Yeah, yeah. Balance is definitely key and very important in all aspects of our lives, even in our personal and professional and family life across the board. Speaking of balance, you know, like we go out all the time and we see different people and we are attracted to different people that we see as well, right? So, in the context of human nature and trying to balance things, what is your viewpoint on monogamy versus non-monogamy? When we look at the fact that we are attracted to different people all the time.
Okay, now, again, when we're talking about attraction to people, let's just be honest, I'm very physically attractive. Men have told me from the time that I was very young, you're very attractive and I want to be with you in a romantic relationship or in a sexual. Sometimes they literally said in a sexual relationship. My response was always, I'm only going to sleep with the man that I marry. That was my personal standard. Monogamy was never a bad thing. When I got together with my husband as a boyfriend, we literally said, what are we both looking for in marriage and long-term commitment? When you're talking about sexuality, promiscuity, it's very, very dangerous. You're playing with fire when you have an orgasm. It's very addictive because there are four hormones. You've got dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. You connect with a person that you have that experience, that sexual experience with. You're playing with fire. If you want to have relationships with people, I've even said now, my husband and I have been married for 30 years. I say to men when they meet me for a business or social reason, I say, okay, just I want you to know that I know that you're attracted to me. We're never going to sleep together. Do you still want to have a social interaction with me? They love it. They love that I tell them that. Then they actually sit and go, yeah, no, I don't think so. I think I just want to sleep with you. Then there's other men who say, wow, no woman has ever said that to me. You think we could actually have a relationship? I say, absolutely. My best friend when I was a child was a man. My husband's best friend, Francisco, is a man that I love very, very much. His brother is one of my best friends, and I hug him and I kiss him and I love him, but the sexual energy is not there. We have a power and we have an ability to connect with people again, socially, emotionally, mentally. We can get together and connect with people, men and women, and of any sexual orientation. It's about knowing what the boundaries are and being very, very honest and upfront and maintaining those boundaries. They're not negotiable. You have to be very honest with people in the very beginning.
Yeah, yeah. Honesty is definitely very important, and it can be appreciated when people are honest with us back, you know. And you mentioned like having relationships that are not necessarily sexual with other people, but some people within relationships they can get jealous of people of their partner having relationships, even though it's not a sexual relationship. What do you say to people that get that kind of jealous feeling when their partner's having those relationships that are not sexual or they feel like are too close for their partner to be having?
Okay, well, jealousy is fear. That's inherently what jealousy uh, is about. I was going to say comprised of. It's just fear. It's what could potentially go wrong. That means there's a trust issue, either of your partner or the person that your partner has the relationship with. And so when you are talking to someone who, okay, if you're talking to the person who's jealous, it's different than if you're talking to the person that is inciting that jealousy in the partner. You need to ask them, what is it that you don't trust about the situation? Is it your partner that you don't trust, or is it that other person? And they might not even know, because a lot of times when there's a fear, there's a very raw fear, which is what jealousy is. It can evolve into anger, but that's because they don't know what it is that they're afraid of. When my husband and I were dating and we were talking about this, he even said to me one day, he said, okay, so let me give you this. Let's say we've been married for 10 years
Mm.
and I came home and our marriage was going pretty good. I came home and I said, okay, honey, I'm going to be honest with you. A woman came on to me at work. I'd had some stuff to drink. She is attractive, but I don't love her. I slept with her, but I'm very, very sorry. And I love you. And I don't want to lose our marriage over this. Would you forgive me? I said, of course I would. He said, why? I said, for four reasons. First of all, because you're a man and you can't keep it in your pants. I've always known that men have no self-control. Number two, if we have a good marriage, I'm not going to throw away a good thing. Number three, if you're honest with me, then that's what matters. And number four, if she came on to you, I know you're Mexican and it's not a matter of if, it's just a question of when. You can't, yeah, it's inevitable. He said, wrong. I said, what do you mean? He said, you don't ever accidentally slip into a woman and out and in. And I said, wait a minute. He said, if I have been unfaithful to you, it's because I'm not with you emotionally anymore. You don't accidentally. And I said, oh, he said, if I don't trust you and you don't trust me, it's because there's a lot more going on beneath the surface. One sexual act is not what it's about. It's about what our connection is. It's about what our trust is. It's about what our our focus in life is. And so when people are jealous of other people, it's about what could go wrong and why are you doing it and what's going on and what are they thinking and what do they want. And okay, if you are with your partner and you don't trust your partner to say no to the people, okay, that means you are not relationship quality level. You have to have that kind of connection, but also that kind of personal confidence in that individual. It really is about not just the person you're with, but your ability to be relationship material. Now, if you're worried about the other people, that's because something else inside of you, they trigger that. You need to deal with a very specific issue. You need to find out what the source of that trigger is. And separate from the person, separate from the relationship, you need to resolve whatever that is pushing buttons inside of you. Find out what those buttons are, and you need to get rid of them from inside of you before you have a relationship with any person, whether you trust them or not.
Right, right. So, like in your experience, like you feel like men don't have a self-control when it comes to intimacy, right? Okay, so but for people that like they feel like their partner or their man, women that feel like their man has that self-control because like over time there's been loyalty in their monogamous relationship, but
That's
then along the line their partner says to them that infidelity has happened. So it kind of breaks them because they had this trust that in this person, that this person was a person of self-control and they didn't expect for this to happen. So like you were speaking about forgiveness, but some people feel like they can't forgive such a thing because I put so much trust in this person, right? So how can they start to rebuild themselves in terms of that trust for relationships and people when they feel like somebody has broken their trust when they put so much trust in that kind of person?
right. Okay. So now, again, I'm sorry if I didn't clarify this. I know for a fact that men have self-control. And again, the whole what I believed as Mexican men are just all pigs. That's not true. That's not true. People are very faithful and they are very loyal. And my husband has been very loyal to me because I did the work in the relationship. If someone has had that experience in their romantic relationship, they need to get to the source of the cause. People are concerned about cause and effect. You need to get to the bottom of that, which is the source of the cause that produced the effect. That's very much about communication. Now, why a person would be unfaithful is very, very important because, again, when we're talking about our sexuality, that's mental and emotional and physical. There could be a lot of reasons why someone did that particular act. If you are the victim of that kind of treatment, you have to be ready to be honest with yourself. There you go. Be honest with yourself about what work you are willing to invest, the time and energy and, excuse me, actual discipline with that person, the commitment to the institution, not just the individual. When you're talking about anything that's going to come up, I'm more angry and I'm more jealous when my husband spends time with my granddaughter than when he would go out with a gorgeous Mexican woman. I'm like, okay, you know what? You're bringing up stuff inside of me. We need to send the baby home and you and I need to talk, okay? Because I'm getting very angry with you. That that brings up my issues of when I was a young girl and the women and men in my family would do things with my cousins and then they would leave me. Oh my God, you know what? You actually love my cousin more than you love me. Oh, okay. I say to my husband, you know what? I understand she's cute and she's young and she needs you, but I need for you to do things with me, with her in a certain way. And when you're done with her, I need you to give me a certain kind of INTP-ness. And he's like, okay, absolutely, I'll do that. And then when certain things are happening, I do Sudoku, okay? And I watch Alice in Wonderland and I do puzzles with my daughter, okay? So if you have an experience that has broken you, that really and truly has made you feel powerless and hurt, devastated to the point where you want to give up, then you have to say, okay, there's a reason why, not just that one isolated act that my partner performed. but what that act means to me, separate from the individual, the person who performed that activity, and what that activity represents to me, and why it has, for me, touched a nerve that has rendered me powerless. And then once you can identify really accurately and specifically what it is that's going on inside of you, then you can express what you need, and understanding their personality as well, saying, okay, so if this is what you are, this is what you do very well, this is what you do not do very well, this is what I need, this is what I'm going through. Let's make it fit. Okay, there we go, there we go, there we go. You have to talk. You have to talk, and you have to talk about the dirty details, and you have to talk at length. That's the other thing I tell people. Look, my daughter, she was so funny. She called us out on it. She's like, okay, so are you guys in your room talking, or are you actually talking? Yeah, we were talking most of the time. But they knew that when we were done talking, we were going to be so much better for them because we were both going to be in a better mood. We were going to be working together. You have to know who you are, what you need. You have to know what the other person has to offer, who they are, what they need, and offer to come together to compromise. That comes from negotiation. That's communication.
Yeah, that deep communication is definitely very important, and some people are afraid of it. But there's no other way around it if you want to move forward with your relationship. You speak to different people all the time when you coach them, and you see different issues that they have all the time. What would you say was some of the main issues that cause anxiety in people's relationships, looking at the people that you've spoken with?
Fear of rejection and being judged. They're very afraid that the people that they love aren't going to love them back. So they're often willing to compromise their own personal values, or they'll lie, or they'll write out lie, or they will sacrifice and turn off who they are, because who that person in their life is so important to them that they say, you know what, the relationship with this person is more important than my health and happiness. And I tell people, now let me ask you something. What do you actually think is more harmful to your relationship? Doing what you're not, or not doing what you are, right? In that dynamic, being, not just doing, but being what you're not, or not being what you are. And they have to sit there and say, I don't know, because I've never been real, I've never been me. So I don't even know what that's about. And the fact is, when it comes to functionality and synergy within a relationship, it's worse for you to not do what you are, because, as again, the first level, the dominant level, is like breathing. When you're doing something on a lower level, you're also not doing what your higher level is. When you're suffocating yourself and you're repressing who you are, you damage yourself mentally and emotionally. When you're doing what you're not, that hurts the other person even more, because you're giving them a low quality service, an activity, a gift, a product, whatever it is that you're providing to that person. You're giving them something that you're really not good at. So when you say to the people in their relationships, as I do as a coach, I say, you have to get back to the organic you, the very authentic you. And when you are doing something that's your dominant function, it's so natural, it's like breathing, and you're so good at it that you don't have to think about it, and it's a very high quality, you will attract the people into your life who want that, and they appreciate that. That creates a good positive energy between the two of you. So what you're not good at isn't going to be an issue, because you know what? You're going to attract people who happen to be good at what you're terrible at. That's the beautiful thing about relationships. And you know what? I actually start to get amazingly emotional about my kids, because my oldest son is an ESFJ, my middle son is an ISTP, my daughter is an ENFJ. I go to them for different things with different things. They're 25, 27, and 29. And I can literally say to my daughter, can I verbally vomit on you right now? My other son is, okay, you know what? My mind is going a mile a minute. Get me back focused. And my older son is like, okay, I understand that this is what it's about. Let's get strong. Let's get re-strengthened. And when I go to each of them for different things, and they say, wow, being positive with you is going to make me better for my wife and my daughter and my employer and my colleagues and my mother-in-law that I have to go see today. That's an amazing gift that you give to the people that love you and that you love.
Beautiful, beautiful. Gabrielle, thank you so much for coming on and thank you for everything that you've shared. Where can people find you, find out more about you, and find out more about what you do?
On LinkedIn right now, I'm revamping my business website. So you can email me. I'm going to be teaching classes about the Myers-Briggs type indicator functional order after the first of the year. So if you want the details, I haven't found the location yet because I'm going back between Washington and Arizona. You can email me at synergyrelationshipcoaching@gmail.com, and I'll put your name on the list of the the email list that I'm going to be sending people the details of the location and the time and the date to that presentation. Sorry, I thought in Spanish. Or on LinkedIn, Gabrielle Cardona. You can go ahead and see my profile picture there and connect with me, and I'll start sending you personal messages in that communication, which is an email, but live, right?
Right, right, right. And for the viewers, all of that information will be in the description so you can get in touch with Gabrielle and find out more about what she does. Once again, thank you so much for coming on, Gabrielle. Any final words before we wrap up?
Just remember that you have power, personal power. Always remember your power comes with accountability. Don't abuse that. Keep it positive and always honest.
Thank you, Gabrielle. Excellent.